You know, for most companies, succession planning is kind of like this dusty old binder that sits on a shelf. It only gets opened when a CEO finally decides to retire. But let's be real, in today's world, that's probably one of the riskiest strategies you can have. So in this explainer, we're going to break down how you can build leadership pipelines that aren't just prepared for the future, but are genuinely resilient against it.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start by talking about a pretty critical risk I call the leadership cliff. Then we'll look at how our post-pandemic reality basically poured gasoline on this fire. After that, we'll dive into how technology can be part of the solution, how we can actually identify the right leaders for tomorrow, and finally, how to pull all of this together to create systems that are truly resilient.
All right, first up, the leadership cliff. This idea really gets to the heart of why those old, reactive ways of planning for succession are not just outdated, they're actually a direct threat to your organization's future.
I mean, let's just make this real for a second. Imagine a critical executive, someone you rely on, walks out the door tomorrow. Is there a clear, immediate plan? Or is there, well, panic? For way too many organizations, the answer is panic. And that kind of vulnerability can stop your momentum dead in its tracks. And this slide really shows the fundamental shift we have to make. See, the old model was reactive. It was all about replacement. You just fill an empty box with a similar part. But the proactive model, that's about building an adaptable system. The old way assumes the world stays the same, which, let's face it, is a pretty dangerous assumption to make these days.
And that brings us to the huge catalyst that really forced this whole conversation into the spotlight, our post-pandemic reality. And this isn't just about where we work anymore. It's about a deep, fundamental shift in what we actually need from our leaders to even succeed.
I mean, this comparison really says it all, doesn't it? Traditional leadership was like a fortress. It was built for stability, for top-down command. But modern leadership? It's much more like a sailboat. It requires adaptability and resilience just to navigate the constant change. We're shifting from a world that valued command to one that values collaborative influence, and our succession planning absolutely has to reflect that.
So, if the old model is broken and the demands on our leaders have completely changed, how do we adapt? Well, that brings us right to our third section, technology's role. This is where we stop talking about the problem and start exploring the modern toolkit for actually solving it.
So a core piece of this modern toolkit is the talent database. I want you to think of it like a living, breathing map of your organization's real capabilities. It lets you move past just gut feelings and office politics, and instead use hard data to see who truly has the skills and the potential to lead in the future.
And this is really how it changes the game. By centralizing all this data, technology gives us objective tools that help get rid of bias. It can generate insights that uncover hidden gems. I mean, your next great leader might be sitting in a department you'd never even think to look in. And crucially, it allows for continuous tracking. That turns succession from this once-a-year event into a dynamic, ongoing process.
Okay, building on that, let's dive into our fourth section, identifying leaders. Because look, it's not enough to just have the data. You need a strategic way to evaluate it. And this is where the modern role of assessment comes into play. The whole purpose of assessment has fundamentally shifted. It's not a simple pass-fail test anymore to see if someone is ready. It's moved from being a simple gateway to a really sophisticated diagnostic tool. The goal isn't just to say yes or no to someone, but to pinpoint exactly where a potential leader is strong and, more importantly, where they have specific gaps they need to develop.
So here's a look at how that process usually works. It always starts with defining the core leadership skills your organization actually needs to succeed. Then, you simulate real-world challenges to see those skills in action. From there, you can objectively evaluate their performance, and this is the most important part, pinpoint the specific development gaps that will help that person grow into a future leader. Okay, let's bring all this together now in our final section. We've talked about the problem, the new context we're in, and the modern tools we have. Now, let's build a forward-looking vision for what a truly resilient system actually looks like.
You know, this quote perfectly captures the mindset shift that has to happen. The goal isn't just to fill a role, it's to build an adaptable and resilient system. We're moving away from the tactical act of just filling an empty chair and toward the strategic goal of creating a leadership engine that can actually withstand any shock that comes its way.
So the ultimate takeaway here is really this visual shift from simply replacing individuals to building a continuous interconnected pipeline of talent. This isn't about having a shortlist for 3 top jobs anymore. It's about a deep, ongoing process that ensures your entire organization has leaders who are ready for whatever comes next. And that leaves us with one last critical question to think about for your own organization. Is your succession plan something that's built for the past, or is it truly designed for the future? Honestly, the answer to that question could very well define your company's success for years to come.